This is Unpivot, the show for Excel and Power BI, business users and everyone else who loves chatting about data. I'm Win Hopkins.
I'm Mark Proctor.
I'm Sue Days.
I'm Giles Mail.
And I'm Deb Ashby.
Deb,
Guest.
we've got a guest.
Hooray!
No, this is so exciting. Thank you for having me on. I've really enjoyed this podcast last few weeks that I've been watching it. I think it's really awesome. You're doing a great job.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
You pretty much have
Deb's
to say that,
doubling
don't
our
you?
viewership numbers, so thank you.
Start with a compliment, you know.
Very well done. Do you want to give us a quick bio, Sue? Who are you? Where are you? What do you do?
Sue or Deb? Did you say Sue?
Oh, sorry, Deb. Edit. No, that's not. I don't do editing.
No, who Sue is.
Thank-
Not interested in Sue
Sue.
this week. God.
Not interested in me. I'm old news.
Oh, damn it. What if I did edit this now? Deb, please.
Yes. I'm Deb Ashby. I am the director, founder, whatever you want to call me, of Cellmates Training. So I've been a traditional IT trainer for 29 years, which seems a bit scary when I say that out loud. And I pretty much do everything: training, webinars, all of that kind of good stuff. I've been freelance for the last 5 years, spent most of my career working as internal trainer at various different corporations around London. So yeah, that's me.
Very good. And we will get on to sort of main topics about training and content creation in a little bit. So I'm sure we've all got plenty to chip in on that front.
I mean, if I was Deb, I'd have definitely started with my enormous TikTok following. That would have been the thing I was going to do. Rather than I'm just a humble
Is it enormous?
trainer. I just tell people how to be better than they were the day before.
And by the way,
I mean, is it enormous? I feel like in the context of maybe other people, it's not enormous, but to the regular person, maybe it's enormous. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
Hundreds of
thousands is a big number, whether it's
How many?
people or whatever. So yeah.
180,000.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, I'm sure we'll get onto that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got 14,000, if that counts.
Oh, that's pretty.
So there
good.
we go. So that's
How do you keep your
Yeah.
ego in check? 180,000 people. I would be a nightmare.
that's pretty cool.
You would.
I don't have to. I mean, I think people in the comments section tend to keep you in check. So, it's, I think if I think too much about it, like that amount of people, like if I imagine them like in a stadium, like I just went to Taylor Swift and there was 90,000 people in that stadium. So it's like, it's double that.
Yeah.
That's mad. That's mad to me.
Pretty cool.
I've got a running thing I can throw in straight away. I was listening to a podcast about someone that does running, and he said the same. He went to a stadium, and then when he looked around and saw the numbers and realized that then were the people that listened to him, he said it was mind-blowing.
I like the way you said that, Sue, as if Win was desperate for you to throw something about running in from the start.
My understanding is Deb's another runner, so I'm outnumbered.
I am, but a fairly new runner. I only started running about 2 years ago, and I'm one of those people who I did a really sort of mid 5K, and I came home and I thought, I'm going to enter the marathon. I can do this. I'd only run 5K once, and I decided that I was going to run the marathon. So I entered thinking, this is never going to happen. I'm never going to get through the ballot. And then, what do you know? I got a place. And I was
Did you get a ballot place, did you?
I did. On my first go.
Oh.
I know. And then we had disaster because I got COVID in the 2-week sort of rest period where you're winding down before the actual race day. I thought I just had a cold, and then it turned into COVID. And right up to the day before, I was thinking, I'm still going to run this thing. I'm still going to run it. But no, I couldn't do it. So I've deferred to next year.
Okay.
So we're doing it in April now.
I may be there. I don't know. I've got a good for age qualifier, but whether it depends how many minutes they take off. I'm 2 minutes under. So it depends.
So I might see you
Right,
there.
I'm interrupting now.
Sorry, I'll stop now.
I'm just going to say, is Giles' Guinness drinking still going?
I have, just to really wind you up, I'm going to bring running back into it. I've actually switched back to running now. So I've done a little bit of running, a little bit less.
Stick to your principles.
Yeah,
he's got no goals. He's flaky. He's flaky, isn't he?
Flaky Giles. That's what they call it.
Driven by the latest thing, and it's Budapest is not happening. I'm not committing that much. I'm not doing a marathon in 6 weeks or whatever it is.
12. I think.
6, 12.
Potatoes,
near enough.
Mushrooms.
I want to hear about Mark's 5K.
Yeah,
I've done several 5Ks now. I mean, it's the staple distance. But I would not.
How do I mute everybody?
I would not consider running a marathon.
Come
Win,
on.
back to you.
Thank you.
Go on, Win. We'll stop. You carry on.
Right. Hold on. Right. So let's get into a little bit of news. So huge congratulations to Giles for his top voice award. Giles, talk us through it.
I am humbled. I mean, I keep posting about it. I don't want to make a really big deal about it, but I am a LinkedIn top voice, and there is nothing that means more to me than being recognized by LinkedIn. I can tell you my approach. You get those notifications.
How did you achieve it?
Many late nights. And the thing is, you have to be a certain level of genius to be able to impart your knowledge in a way that LinkedIn recognizes you. So I'll share. I posted 3 times after getting spammed with all these notifications saying you've been chosen to, share your expertise. Anyway, post 1. Hey, LinkedIn, instead of hitting me with all this top voice spam, can you do more to police the platform against blatant copyright infringement? That got a lot of engagement. Post 2, I'm just testing how automated this top voice process is. If I just keep posting random things like this with sufficient volume, will I end up with a top voice badge? Exciting times. Post 3, this was the one that was the deal breaker where they thought you should be a top voice. I just dream of the day these contributions I'm making lead to the esteemed top voice badge. I will not sleep until I have it and I can tell the world I'm an expert. And after those 3 posts, I became a top voice.
A top voice in what?
In LinkedIn, in life, in everything.
No, but what area? Is there an area?
Oh, training top voice.
In waffle.
Waffle.
the top voice in complete waffle.
It's a big moment. We're doubling our prices at full stack as a result. Now that I'm a top voice. So yeah.
Excellent.
Thanks very much.
It's been a big week for you.
You 4 might be MVPs, but I'm a top voice.
Giles, you've read the 4-hour work week, haven't you?
Sorry?
You've read the 4-hour work week, haven't you?
Yes.
We talked about how to win things. It's all about hacking the system. So you've applied those principles, and well done.
I didn't expect it to. I was doing it as well. I just get bored sometimes and find little projects to keep me entertained. I thought it would take far longer, and it would just be a little funny thing. But
how do you know it's the top? How do you know it's the top voice posts that have led to you getting that? Could it not be the training posts that have led to you getting that? How do you know it's those 3 specifically?
No, I think what happens is it's all fully automated. I think because my stupid posts actually got a lot of engagement with people putting smiley faces on it. I think it got picked up as one of the top contributions out of all the others. And then you
get notifications, don't you, to contribute to certain articles and things like that. I think that's what counts towards the top voice thing, not just your posts on LinkedIn. It's specific articles that are suggested to you to contribute to.
But now that I'm a top voice, the number of CTAs has gone up, and they're stronger now. It's like, now you must share your expertise. It's like, oh God, do I?
But have you contributed? Have you contributed to any of those articles?
Those 3 statements I read out.
That's it.
But when they ask you, you're an expert in your field, give your comments on that. Have you done any of those?
Those 3 posts I read out are the only things I've ever contributed, not in life or overall in my career, but in terms of the
top voice
notifications that you get saying please contribute. They're the only 3 I've ever done.
Yeah.
Just shows you how awesome automation is, right?
Yeah. It's on my CV.
So good.
Well, I'm very proud for you Very proud for you.
Thank you.
You
I'm
just try and
humbled.
hold on
Happy
to
for
that.
you.
Humbled,
Yeah.
and I'll try not to mention it beyond the next 6 months.
Excellent. No more top voice chat.
Can you work out how to mute him, Win?
Why me?
I'll find the button.
Can't mute me. I'm a top voice.
In LinkedIn, not on here.
Any other sort of blog post articles, weird things that have happened this week for anybody?
I think the exciting news is probably that in Excel, at least, that checkboxes are now generally available.
Yes.
Yay.
People are getting a bit excited about that. I'm not entirely sure why, because you could create checkboxes using the developer ribbon, but equally, people are excited about this checkbox feature. So, I'll get on board with being excited about it. So yeah, that's out. That's people are emailing me. I've got this checkbox thing. It's amazing. Like, good. Yeah.
Well,
I'm very happy about that.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting slammed in the comments on TikTok about this 2 weeks ago when I posted a video about checkboxes because Microsoft said that they were being moved to the current channel. I was like, oh, great. People are going to start getting them. So I made my video. It got loads of views. I had like 300 comments and it was just everybody going, don't have them, don't have them, don't have them. There wasn't one person who had them.
No.
10 days ago, I was like, oh, no. I just had to keep saying, well, you'll get them soon. You'll get them soon. So I'm happy now that they're being... Does anybody know how these things get rolled out? Is it like incrementally? Do they flip a switch and everybody gets it? Like, how does it work?
So this is like a bugbear of mine now, because I never realized that there's a thing called flighting, which basically they randomly test new features on people's computers, right? So I was aware that that was a thing for the beta version. I was never aware that it was a thing for the current channel. So, and for those of people listening, Excel and Office comes out in channels. So you have the current channel, which is updated monthly, enterprise current, which is 1 month later, and then semi-annual every 6 months. And then the beta channel is just like all the sort of brand new buggy stuff, and lots of people post about that thing. Anybody can get on that beta channel. You can just download it. But then within those channels, well, within beta and now apparently current, there's this thing called flighting, where they just turn these features on and just see if it causes computers to crash and stuff or interfere with other functions and things. So there's, like you say, there's all these people going, it's not there. And now you've also got web not having the same features as desktop.
Yeah.
And everyone's just like, well, I can enable this now, share it to somebody. They open it in web, it doesn't work. Then they send it to somebody else. They open it in another channel version. Or they've got the updated channel but haven't clicked the update button for the last 6 months. It's just a bit of a nightmare, really.
Yeah. They like making it difficult for us.
Yeah, it's really hard to keep on top. Power BI went with the option of, stuff you, it's not backwards compatible. Here we go. You've got to have the latest version or it won't work.
Latest version. Yeah, we're not supporting it. We're not supporting anything other than what the new version.
But they could do that, right? Because
is there anything new in the Power BI world in any latest updates?
Was there anything? Well, we mentioned a couple of things. There hasn't been a new update since the last episode.
One. Yeah, it only comes out once a month that we have to keep up to speed with. There was a really cool thing. Did you see? Eric posted how to get a visual ruler from Power Toys into Power BI. So you can get your alignment of your visuals absolutely. Power Tools, virtual ruler. You open it and then it just makes your alignment absolutely perfect.
I don't know whether this is true or not, but I have seen people posting that they've seen people, my mate told me that they've seen people with Power BI, the sort of pivot table matrix visual, the column widths. You can't set them all at one go. You've got to manually drag each individual column to get the right width. You can't set them in. There's no setting to go column widths are all this width or all that width without doing a measure hack and dragging it in and getting rid of it. So people have had their rulers on their screen. It's like people taking photos. I think it's just, but they've actually had a physical ruler on their screen, getting everything lined up to the right width.
Oh, wow.
So Yeah. Maybe that'll be helpful, Sue, that new virtual ruler. That sounds good for those people.
No, for visuals, learn the measure.
Yeah, learn the measure, drop a 10-digit measure in, and then it'll just do the width.
Yeah.
The other one I sort of got annoyed by this week, and it caught a few people out this week, is the realization, not the realization, but it's just the issue has popped up a few times. Power Query, remove duplicates.
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't respect sort order.
No.
So you do the sort order, you then do remove duplicates in a merge or remove duplicates in group by or something.
Yeah.
And it's not the first one. It's not the first record anymore. So there's a couple of workarounds, but it's just come up 2 or 3 times this week and made me think, why isn't that the way it works by default? Why don't
seems really basic?
I suppose it's because it only shows the first 1,000, so it's loading it. It doesn't load it, and then the optimization of the query depends upon the order of the data within the query. So I think that will be why. But table.buffer.
Table.buffer, adding an index column is another one, and there's a couple of other little techniques before you do the merge or anything else. But I've always done that hack and never really thought about it. And then I suddenly got a bit, after 3 people got caught by it this week, I suddenly got a bit sort of like cross about it and thought, why does it work that way? You know, I haven't questioned it for 8 years, but it's like, why?
Simple answer. Vertipack works out the optimization, and then so it can't go. I think, I could be wrong, Vertipack works out the optimization, so it can't then guarantee what order the data will come in, because it then does run length encoding to reduce each column. So it's column, so yeah.
Cool. And that is Sue, not a coder.
Yeah.
I've got a presentation on it. I just like to understand how things work. I'm just like, why is it not doing that?
Sue's used at least 2 words I've never heard before already in the last 15 minutes, but I'm not going to say what they are.
Oh, which ones?
No, I'm not saying it. I'll ask you afterwards. Actually, well, the first one was it was. You said, did you say power toys?
Power
toys.
It's a group of tools.
Spot the Excel guy. What the hell is power toys?
Oh, power toys is really cool. It's like a Microsoft add-in that you can pull in, and you can like capture things like text. So if you've got text on a screen, you can use power toys to capture that text, and then it'll paste it in somewhere, so it shows you typing. And what other things?
All different tools.
Like, loads of different tools.
Color picker, got one in there.
Yeah, color picker, nice.
Yeah. You all got really excited then at the same time.
Color picker's good.
But it's just if you want to have consistency of colors, it's like, what is the code for that, so I can copy it across. So I do that if I'm designing a report for a business and I want to know on their website what particular shade of blue it is. You can use color picker to pick that color, and then I can use it in my visuals.
All right,
like PowerPoint and Word. PowerPoint and Word already have their own color picker, but like other applications that don't, it's really useful in that respect to have that.
I find it's a pain though, because you can't pin it to your taskbar. Is that the same for everyone? You have to open it each time.
Don't think I've tried. I just use the keyboard shortcut like Windows Shift C or whatever for color picker and stuff like that. So those sorts of things. What I used it for this podcast was the unpivot logo. For Apple, the logo needs to be a very specific size, max file size and shape. And then Power Toys has got an image resizer functionality. Right click on the image, resize it to whatever size you need. For you can shrink stuff down as well if your website's getting slow because you've uploaded really big images.
Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you.
All sorts of good little tools in there.
Yeah.
All right, I'll have a look. Thank you very much.
There we go.
Worth a download for sure.
Definitely.
We'll put a link in the show notes. Right, so let's get into a couple of questions. We got question of the week. Last time I played the intro music, my screen went blank. So we're gonna go for it again. So
I love this jingle.
Let's have a little play.
It's a question, it's a question, it's the question of the day. It's a question, it's a question, it's the question of the day.
Right,
just to be pedantic.
I love it.
Is it question of the week or question of the day? Because you said question of the week and the song says question of the day.
And
it's question.
Oh,
I would like you to do us a little jingle because you're the music man amongst
who are you talking? Who are you talking to?
Win.
Okay, thank God. Yeah, okay.
Do you
So now
have
I've
a
played
week
that,
you can
my
play?
headphones are packed in.
Sorry,
Brilliant.
question.
Mark plays guitar. You do a little acoustic
Oh, you could
intro.
have a band going on. Yeah.
That's good.
Little band. Yeah.
You
It's a-
said you
it's a
could
pos-
and you're
it's a
shaking your
possibility,
head.
He says while shaking his head.
It's a question of the
Right,
fortnight.
It should be
Talk
question of
amongst
the
yourselves.
fortnight.
Having played that intro music, my headphones are now stopped working. So, right, let me ask the question of the week. I won't be able to hear your answer, and then I'll fix my headphones. So here I'm never playing that intro again. It just stuffs up my system.
You've got to change it.
So yeah,
You can say
question of the
anything
week
about
instead of
Wolverine,
question of the
you
day.
never know.
So and I can't even remember what the question was. The question is,
Forums.
what's the oddest comment
Worst,
you've received on social media? LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, etc. Who wants Deb as special guest? Do you want to start us off?
Go
Yeah,
with Deb.
Debbie.
Or
Yeah,
why
Debbie.
not?
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a lot of. I mean, I don't know whether you would consider them to be. Well, no, they are a bit weird. But a lot of the weird ones, like most of the time, like considering the size of the audience that I have on TikTok, I get a lot of comments. So you would expect them to be worse than they are, you know, just sort of generally. But generally, they're pretty good. But I have had some over the years. I've had weird things like. I had somebody once ask me if I was. I mean, I don't know if this is not PG enough for this for this podcast, but I did a webinar. It is clean. I did a webinar and it got put onto YouTube, and it was when I worked for the last company. It was before I was a freelancer, and somebody put a comment underneath asking if I was Debbie Ashby, the page 3 girl from the 1980s. That was a little bit strange because we do have the same name, and I thought that's a weird career trajectory, isn't it? So, like, you know, you go from page 3 girl to Excel trainer. I don't know how that correlates, but that was a bit strange. I had somebody the other day, no, this is a few months ago, asked me if we could create a spreadsheet so that they could track the last time that their friends called them. And I thought, that's a little bit weird. Why do you want that? Like a spreadsheet so she could put, like, you know, Sarah called on this day at this time. Claire called. That was a little bit strange. Generally
I'd just create a blank
weird...
sheet and just leave it.
Yeah.
People call me blank sheet every time.
That took me a couple of seconds to gather that one. Oh, Mark.
Nice.
Yeah. But like worst comments, like as in sort of trolly comments, I mean, you get those occasionally. You know, just general things like, I hate your voice, and, you know, I don't like your accent, or your hair looks rubbish. I had that the other day. Just stuff like that. But in general, about the actual work, it's normally all right. So I don't have anything sort of really terrible to tell you. I'm sure Giles has some.
Why me? Why do you think I will?
Because I feel like you'd write them down, you know, and you'd remember them for years.
What are you saying about me? That's outrageous. The only one I can think of, it happened yesterday, actually, which it just made me laugh. I thought it was funny. I posted on commented on somebody's post, and somebody I don't know said, with a surname like that, I'd love to know his pronouns. And I just thought, that was random.
Cool.
I didn't respond to it with my pronouns. There you go.
Yeah.
I thought your surname was Marley.
Everyone does, I think.
I didn't know it was male. I thought it was Marley.
So I'm not the only one.
No, that's what I thought. I've never known anybody to have just a surname of like male. Yeah. I feel like it should have like an accent on it or something. Marley.
I apologise for the non-exoticness of my surname. You too, Giles Mel.
It's too literal.
No, it's just plain old male. Makes finding the toilets easy for me. It's all good.
Anybody else with comment? Any weird comments?
I can go. Because I knew this was coming, I've noted a few down. Yeah. So here's one of my favourites. You are the Jack Bauer of Excel. Plus, you look like Kiefer Sutherland.
Nice.
Okay.
That's a nice one.
I'll take that.
Keep that.
I like
Top
Kiefer.
drawer.
Yeah.
He's also one of my favourites.
You don't.
Until this
nice.
moment, and it wasn't until this moment that I realised how much better at Excel I was than you.
Brilliant.
It wasn't even a straightforward "you're rubbish." It was a "you're rubbish," and I'm going to big myself up. That comment is definitely one of my favourites.
That's gold.
Who was that? John Acapora.
Another one. This is a YouTube comment. Very inefficient, but at least you tried.
Oh.
And then I responded with, "How would you do it differently?" And they never responded, so I don't know how to make it any better.
Yeah.
And then I'll just do one more.
Good.
John, one more. This might take a few seconds to realise how awesome this comment is. It was on a video about how you split cells in Excel. So, and they say this is not splitting a cell. This is splitting the data within a cell. That's a fair comment. And creating extra cells. The main question everyone is looking for is how to physically split a cell in Excel. How hard is it for Microsoft to implement a simple rule like cell B becomes cell BA and cell BB?
Okay.
But why would you need to do that?
BA and BB already exist, so it's not going to help anyone.
But why would you need to tell it what to split it on?
There's no good reason to. It's like it's anti-merge. It's like the opposite of merge.
Chaos. It'd be absolute chaos.
Absolute chaos.
And of course, there's the classic how to do this in Excel 2003. Here's the filter function. Now you pay the money to upgrade.
That's a very common one. Good. Sue, have you got any?
They're not too bad. They're not too bad.
Yeah,
No,
I actually don't. I don't have as much content out as you guys, so I think
nothing too weird.
Nothing too weird. I think I'm probably a bit too I don't know.
Just too sensible.
Nice. People don't want to say anything bad about you.
Yeah.
Well, that would be quite nice. I'd like that. Or
okay, so I did some research as well then. So here we go. Right,
bearing in mind, I've got under 1,000 on my YouTube, whereas you two have got hundreds.
Yeah.
So
I think the more, obviously, you're going to get some more odd bods, the
Yeah.
more people that are watching. So,
Yeah.
So number one from a video I recorded 3 years ago, a recent comment is get a new microphone. Okay, awesome. Right, thanks for that. Nothing on the content itself, just get a new microphone. I said I did check out my latest content, sent them a link, so that's awesome. On my most popular video, where I've got 35,000 likes on this video, comment from 2 weeks ago, useless video, all I get is errors. Okay, so that's it. No further information. And on the same video, also 2 weeks ago, that really prompted me to ask this question was, the spreadsheet in the video is blurry. Please look into it. It's fine. It's just like their internet's slow, so it comes through blurry.
Oh, brilliant.
So that's there. Those are a couple of nice ones. So there you go. That's what triggered me to ask the question.
Brilliant.
Yeah, don't anyone feel that they have to add weird comments onto my stuff just so that I can be included. I'm quite happy.
We don't want weird comments.
Yeah, I'm quite happy to be under the radar from this. Sorry, Deb, go on.
I was just going to say you've triggered a memory where I had a couple of weeks ago. You sound like a BBC presenter.
Oh,
I
yes.
don't like it. That was it.
I remember.
Sorry.
Thanks.
I don't like it.
I got a nice one about my voice. I did get a nice one. They said they listened to it. Nothing about the content, just the voice.
It's sad how all the nice ones sort of we just skip over, and then the sort of apart from Mark's obviously, which is pretty cool, about his Kiefer Sutherland one.
But Sue burst that bubble immediately.
Yeah.
My hero.
At least you didn't get the mum from Home Alone. I've had that like twice in my You look like the mum from Home Alone, and I had to Google, and I was like, oh, that's not good.
Your Deb, your 80s page 3 girl one is like the strangest mixture of a compliment and quite an insult at the same time, isn't it? It's like obviously there's a nice part of that, but it's like, were you old enough to be a page 3 girl in the 80s, early 80s?
No, I think that would have been illegal. Well, I was a child in the 80s. It's not good.
Just obviously, does that make you look older than you are? I don't think there's too many layers in that. Right.
I don't think people think that heavily about it. They just throw out the comments, same name, let's just check.
Yeah.
Because, that's likely.
I want to write something to get a reaction.
Yeah.
Okay, Mark, you had a question from a listener.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So Lynn on LinkedIn asked us about which forums do we recommend that people go to. So last time we talked about good conferences. So are there good forums that people can go to get support and answers to questions? I must admit that I've probably not posted a question in a forum in the last 8 years. So I find things in forums and you might work with them, but actually asking a question, I don't know, the place that I think in the past, the place that used to get all the fastest comments were always Mr. Excel's forum.
Mr. Excel.
Yeah, there'd be a question in there, and if like a few, 8 years ago, I think, I'm going to get better at Excel by answering questions on forums. So a question would come up in Mr. Excel. I'm going to answer this. By the time I'd answer it, there's like 37 answers that are all better than mine. But I thought, I'll post it anyway. So I think Mr. Excel, there's a lot of people on there and they get good answers. And I think the key thing is the number of people who are answering stuff, because otherwise you see some things on forums where someone asks something and then 4 years later somebody writes, here's the answer to this, which, let's face it, no one's got that problem anymore. I think also often the Power BI forums come up quite a lot in Google searches. So I think that's probably they probably come up quite a lot. Yeah. So I'd say Mr. Excel or anywhere else that gets a lot of people responding. But I don't know whether anyone else has got any forums that they use.
I'm same as you for Power BI. I tend to use Google or whichever internet provider. But always my little tip would be put a date filter on it. So you don't want anything from 4 years ago generally. It's usually within the last 12 months because it's just changing so quickly. Stack Overflow for me a little bit. Reddit if I'm feeling brave.
Oh God, not Reddit.
Yeah,
why the feeling brave comment, Sue?
Because they can be brutal.
Yeah, there is a bit. They can. Yeah. I like Reddit. I'm on there a lot now. So the Power BI forum and the Excel forum and Reddit. Having been really confused about what Reddit was a few years ago, I'm now fully into it. It's not actually that hard. I was just a bit like, looked a bit crazy when I first logged in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Reddit and Power BI in terms of answering questions and stuff on there.
Yeah.
I don't.
Stack Overflow, not so much.
Stack Overflow a bit, yeah.
What else?
I don't generally tend to stick to one.
No.
Just Google something and then, whatever comes up, I'm diving in and out of different forums, so I don't I'm not really paying attention as to which one it is. It's just like whoever's got the answer. But I use ChatGPT and Copilot now.
Yeah,
every question I have, that's the first place I now go. So is AI going to kill forums off, do you think?
It's a bit of a vicious circle, isn't it? Because it's getting its information from the forums. So then if there's no more forums,
that is
there's
true.
No more. So it's what happens. I'm actually sort of got my MVP status by being one of the first people on the Excel tech forum. So the Excel tech community. I was on there answering loads of questions, and then I just got totally outdone by Sergey, who was a Russian MVP at the time, who was just posting all day, every day, non-stop, and was just answering every question before I could even finish typing my answer. So he was just a machine. But I was on there quite a lot. The only problem with the Excel forum one for Excel questions is it doesn't work well on mobile, I don't find. Reddit's really good on mobile, but if you're on a normal computer, then the Excel tech community. We'll put some links in all the descriptions as well. Anybody else, Giles? Have you got any that you would go to searching for answers? Or
no, because I think not forums. I think whenever I have an Excel question, it's always ExcelJet. ExcelJet has like the best Google ranking on everything, partly because it is just really easy to read. So not really forums. Reddit, I've had, there are some forums on there, but when you learn about some of the characters that moderate them and they're not exactly neutral in our space, I think it could be a little bit toxic. But hey, that's probably the same on Twitter and TikTok and everywhere else. A little bit like you, Deb. I would probably turn to a Google search or just ChatGPT these days.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Searching ChatGPT and then say, please provide links, so that you've actually got some
nice
backup for those sorts of things. It's just a good way of doing it, so that you're not just, because it will make stuff up, right? So you just got to.
Does it actually provide good links?
Yeah. So most of the time. Some days it just seems to generate just random ones that take you to old 404, page no longer there, because it's obviously scraped the web from 5 years ago, whatever, and the page is link's no longer valid. So, yeah.
Hey, if I keep on with my little top voice journey, I could destroy the whole algorithm. You'll post a really serious training question about Excel, and you'll get my answer back saying, "Hey, could you stop spamming me with top voice stuff?" I might carry on. I'm going to ruin the algorithm for everyone.
Giles,
the lone crusader against algorithms.
Awesome. All right. So, any other forums that anybody's suddenly popped into anybody's mind? Those are the main ones I'd go to. Yeah.
No.
All good. Thanks for the question, Lynn. Well done. More questions, please. Send them in. Right. Topic of conversation for today. And as per usual, we're way over halfway in before we even get to it.
Nice.
Okay. Content creation and training. So do we all run training of some sort?
I don't do a lot.
Don't do a
lot.
A
little tiny wee bit.
Okay. But also just content creation to start with then, and that might feed into a bit of training and stuff as well. So general thoughts about content creation, whatever you're producing. Where do you get let's start with sort of source of inspiration for things. I know Mark mentioned the other day about just the shower. That's just where he goes for his ideas.
I go to think,
just quite
lock
amazing.
the door. The kids are on the other side. The dog's barking. I'm like, no, this is my safe space.
That's it. And the ideas just flood in. And if you are doing content creation, then how often should you do it? And in terms of branding and other things, have you thought, what's your approach generally around content creation? So special guest Deb,
yes,
huge TikTok following. We'll call it huge because it is. So
Thanks.
Deb, what's your process? Where do you come up with ideas from? How does it all work for you?
I mean, a lot of the time I get ideas for my videos from the comments from other videos. So what you find is, particularly on TikTok, is you'll post a video and, you get this on YouTube as well. People will comment, but a lot of the time it's not necessarily about the video that they're watching. It will just be some random comment. How do I do this? Or how do I do that? So I go through the comments every single day and I make a note of any questions that people have asked, because it's a great way just to get ideas that are relevant to your audience as well, because this is what's actually people are dealing with, at work. They want to know how to do this, they want to know how to do that, they're asking the question. So a lot of the videos that I produce on TikTok will be based off of a comment that somebody's made underneath another video. That's sort of how I get my main sort of source of ideas. And it also sort of feeds into the fact that they also really like that as well, because they feel like you're engaging with them. So it's sort of your audience happy, because they're immediately getting answers to their questions in the form of a video, and they really sort of like that kind of thing. So that's where I mainly get my inspiration from. I have other sort of outside influences now, which we can talk about a little bit later possibly. where because I've actually sold my TikTok library, or I've licensed my library, which means that it's now getting pushed out to companies around the UK to integrate into their LMSs, because they all want this TikTok style, super mobile, on the go style training for their workforce. But they don't want their team members going off onto TikTok to watch the videos. So they want it sort of a bit more logically organized. They want it inside their LMS. So I've actually licensed all of my TikTok content, which I don't think anybody's done that yet. I'm not sure. I haven't heard of anybody doing that. But now we can sort of have this two-way feedback system. So they can come to me, like the company can say, okay, well, this is what our staff need to learn. Can you do a video on it? So I'm getting sort of influences from those areas as well. Like they really need to know this, so that I can then do a video. I post it on TikTok and it gets uploaded to the library that they've purchased, which is constantly being updated with new content because I post a video every single day. So it's sort of like a good sort of feedback loop that we have going on. So a lot of the videos that I've done recently, there was a big request from a company. They wanted a whole heap of Teams videos. And I hadn't really done any on my TikTok channel at that point. So now I'm slowly starting to feed these Teams videos through onto TikTok. There was a whole word series that they wanted, which I've been feeding those through, as well as doing like the Excel stuff as well. So yeah, that's sort of mainly where I get my inspiration from. And also just like other people's videos. We scroll through LinkedIn all day, scroll through YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. You see things here and there and you think, oh, that's really cool. Like actually Mark's videos. You remember, Mark, you did a video on, it was the linking of the cell. Do you remember, with the linking the tab to the title?
Yeah. Yes. So that was how'd you get the, like, your cell, your tab name into a cell?
Yeah.
So by using the cell, is it cell or cells? I think it's cell. The cell function.
Cell and file name and
Yes.
So I saw that video because he suddenly popped up on my TikTok and I'd never seen you on TikTok before. And I was like, oh, I'm going to watch that, see what he's doing. And it was this video. And I thought that's actually really cool. But I sort of got the idea from there, but you'd use the mid function. I thought I'm just going to update this to use text after. So do it in a slightly different way, but a more modern version of it. So, you take inspiration from other creators as well. I mean, some people outright blatantly copy the videos, but I think if you can take a bit of inspiration and put your own twist on it, that's
how we learn, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I'm new to TikTok. What's the difference between TikTok? So what's the difference between posting to TikTok as opposed to YouTube?
TikTok is more of it's always been known as a short content, a short form content platform as opposed to YouTube. So there's a limit on how long your videos can be on TikTok. And I think when it first came about, people were posting extremely short videos. We're talking like 6-10 seconds long. That's it. So it was very short form. But you do have 10 minutes on TikTok to record a video. So you could take all of that 10 minutes, just people never did because it was just known as a short form content platform. And when I started posting on there, sort of in the back end of 2022, I was posting these super long videos. They were like 7 minutes long. And a lot of the comments I was getting was, this is too long for TikTok, go back to YouTube, stuff like that. People were not happy about the fact that I was putting really long training videos on TikTok. But I sort of had this feeling that the people who didn't like it would fall away and the people who did enjoy it would stay. And that's kind of what happened. People appreciated that the videos were slower than the really fast quick tips, which were all of the other videos which were on TikTok at the time.
Yeah.
And they could, they could actually learn, as opposed to just having a bunch of quick tips flashed up in 10 seconds and that's the end of the video. So that was sort of my motivation from there, was to do longer videos, and people who appreciated those would hang around. And fortunately, that's what seems to have happened.
Oh, so do you structure it, or do you just sort of every day, is there order, or?
No, it is a little bit chaotic and all over the place because I take my ideas from comments which are being posted every single day. I don't really have like, right, today I'm going to do this and this video. I might think to myself, oh, tomorrow I'm going to do this video, but there isn't a structure to it as such. I just kind of do whatever I want to do on any given day, but I do make sure that I post consistently, so at least every day or every other day.
And how Deb, how long does it take to actually produce like a 10-minute video from scratch for you nowadays?
A 10-minute video, I could do it in an hour. So that's from like recording the video, editing it, and then uploading it. I could do it in an hour. Yeah, nice. If it's 10 minutes.
Is it 10 minutes you do roughly?
Yeah, I generally for TikTok it's somewhere normally between 5 to 7 minutes. It depends what the subject is, but because I do training videos, you know, you can't do those in 20 seconds.
2 minutes.
So
no.
Yeah.
Do you find, well, I guess in order to keep up, you know, if you're doing daily videos for this long, you've got to do what you enjoy doing, right? You can't just do what people ask for, otherwise, you know, purely, you know, short video or whatever you think should be done. You've got to do what you want to do, don't you? Otherwise, you just
100%. You know, that's the point. Like the reason why I like TikTok as opposed to any of the other platforms is because it is fun and it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, the platform TikTok is about, people like to see authenticity, you know, as opposed to a perfect video. So you can leave the mistakes in, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. So it feels a little bit, for me anyway, it feels a bit freer posting on TikTok than when I'm doing a video for YouTube, which I feel has to be a little bit more, I don't know, professional.
Anybody else in terms of sort of things where they get their ideas and stuff from? Or is it for posting on?
Well, I mean, mine's a bit different, I guess. Like, because my YouTube's Excel on the road, so mine's is like, what country do I want to go to? Who's there that I want to speak to and might speak to me, and then I go and speak to them. But you know, I've got about 280 subscribers at the moment, so it's a superb group of 280. But I've loved the process of learning how to do it. That's why I asked Deb the question, because like the production part is so interesting to see how you tell a story and get a certain tone and all that stuff.
And do you do your own editing on that, Deb?
Yes. So I basically do everything. So all of the editing, and for me that's the fun part. That's the bit I like the most, because it's the part where you can be really creative, and I have this like really strong creative streak in me which doesn't get to come out that often when you're working with Excel. But that's why I like videos, is because, you know, you do get to be a bit creative, whether it's even just designing your thumbnails. You know, I love designing thumbnails in Canva. That's like my thing that I do in the evenings, sadly enough. And you know, putting videos together and just making them a little bit more fun, you know, adding different clips in, things like that. I love that entire process of video creation almost as much as Excel.
We're going to watch and look.
For me, I've had to make a change in the last, I have made a change in the last few months. I used to be effectively, it was blog first. So I would write whatever the blog post was, and then I would just make a video that just kind of went along with it. But with all the increase of AI generated stuff and Google struggling to work out what's good content and what's bad content, I was like, why am I writing all this stuff which could end up going nowhere, right? Because you're then just fighting with AIs in Google. And I thought, I'm going to try video first for 3 months and just see what happens and see what difference it makes. So therefore the quality, hopefully the quality of video has increased significantly, because before it was just a case of record the video and get it out there as quick as possible, because it was just an add-on to the blog post. Now it's kind of, the video has got lots of editing and you've got all this stuff around, because it's all about retention, so that of people at the start to try and get them engaged in the video. So therefore there's quite a lot of upfront editing to try and make sure there's all this what they call input bias, where if people think from the first few seconds, if people think you've spent a lot of effort and a lot of time on this video, therefore this video must be worth watching because someone's clearly put a lot of effort into the first few seconds. So there's a lot more editing or anything else than I ever used to do before, and trying to make sure that people are engaged, that there's a clear story. I now even script stuff. Before it was just a case of just record and go, but now it's like, right, I've got to tell this, I've got to tell this story or get the information across as quick and as punchy as possible, so there's as little waffle as possible. So it's completely changed from just being I'll record, I'll fix it all in post-production, to now it's now reasonably well planned and trying to get the right tone and all of that stuff. And in terms of what that content is, I try and do one video a week, which doesn't sound a lot, right? But it's
a lot of work.
Well, Deb says she can produce a 10-minute video in an hour.
A TikTok video, not a YouTube video.
Yeah, a 10-minute video on YouTube might take me a day and a half. Of all the editing and all of that stuff, and you've got color grading and a little bit of sound effects and all that other stuff, and I'm like, but so hopefully that then leads to better videos that then people are then more engaged with, and I think the views have showed that. So I'm still experimenting with this as a process. I think the comments I get, I think people have appreciated kind of the higher quality element of it, and hopefully it respects their time, and rather than a video that could have been 15 minutes with me waffling on a bit, now comes in at 7, and they get as much information in a shorter period of time.
The bar's being continuously raised, isn't it? That's what I've found over the last few years, is that what you used to be able to get away with years ago, just like, slightly blurry video, putting that up and, getting loads of views, that just doesn't cut it these days, because the bar is just continuously being raised in terms of, the skills that people have, even like when it comes to video editing, is incredible. Like some of these videos that I see put together, and I don't necessarily know if every single creator puts together their own videos or if they have a team that does that for them, but the quality of some of these Excel videos that are out there is absolutely insane. So you kind of, as a creator yourself, you feel like you have to constantly be able to keep up with that and make sure that your videos are, of as high quality as you can make them within, your skill set, I guess, because you're trying to stop the scroll. That's the whole thing, is stopping people from scrolling through and stopping on your video. And that relates to the thumbnail first of all.
Oz is interesting I don't know if you've been following Oz's journey on this, but Oz de Soleil, it was a bit like you were saying, Deb. He loved the creative process of all of the, the editing, but he's recently transitioned to kind of delegating that, which he's been posting about on LinkedIn. Which I think is quite a tough journey to kind of let go of it and try and bring somebody else in who gets your tone and like your humor and everything else. But it seems to work really well for him.
This is the thing I've struggled with the most in recent months, particularly because I've kind of handed over that side of my business to another team now. So I've basically brought in some sales and marketing people, and actually I know them. I think Mark, Adam, don't you? Adam Lacey.
I've never actually met him, but I know.
Oh, you never met him?
I know who he is, but I've never.
Oh, you know who he is.
Met him.
Yeah, so he's a friend of mine. We used to work together. He started a company a couple of years ago called Assemble You, and they're a podcast company. They do podcast style learning, and we wanted to do something together. And so basically, they're sort of experts in sales and marketing. So we've kind of merged together, and now they're giving me all of these like stats of thumbnail analysis, what's going to stop the scroll, things like that. And it's just fascinating to see all of these reports that they're pulling out, and, what people watch, why people watch it, all of that kind of stuff. It's a very interesting journey.
I bet.
Yeah.
So
I also say to people, oh, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, Win, what's your experience? Because you've got 90,000 on YouTube.
90,000 on YouTube.
Quite a number of videos.
Yeah. Similar sort of experience. One thing I was about to say was, don't let the tech and everything and the perfectness get in the way of starting. Just start. If you want to start your YouTube or recording your TikTok, just whatever you've got, your webcam, your built-in monitor, your crappy microphone, your AirPods, whatever, just start. And if you enjoy doing it, then you'll stick with doing it, and then buy some lights, and then buy a microphone, and then buy. Okay, quick question, Deb. Microphone or lights? Which first? Which is more important?
Oh, microphone.
Microphone, probably.
Microphone.
Like the guy who commented on my post.
If they can't, if the audio's terrible, then they're not going to work. I would take like a slightly bad lighting over bad audio.
Yeah. But yeah, for my content, a lot of it's inspired from training courses, which we'll quickly get into next for 5 or 10 minutes if people have got time. And then also from forums, like you say, people posting questions and just going, that's the 4th person who's asked a question about that. I'll do a video. Or in a training course, I haven't got time to cover the topic. And I'll just go, right, I'll do a video, and I'll just point people during the training course to that video. That's really why I started doing it. And then 1 or 2 videos suddenly took off, and it was like, oh, okay, this. And once you get over 1,000 subscribers, you can start charging for those little ads that skip up. So you get like, I don't know what it is. It's like half a Aussie dollar or half a cent per view or something. So, if you get a video that gets 1 million views or something, you can earn a few $1,000s from it. And
oh, really?
Okay, yeah.
Nice.
So, anybody interested? There's a website called socialblade.com, and you can type in any YouTuber's name, and their YouTube channel will pop up, and you'll see their estimated income and how many viewers they have and how many subscribers and stuff.
Social Blade. Right, I'm cancelling all my plans. My God, that sounds amazing. Social Blade.
And just check out Mr. Beast while you're there. So Mr. Beast is like number 2 on YouTube, and he's got like, I don't know, estimated annual earnings of $300 million US from those ads or something. It's just bonkers.
Oh wow!
Just in those skippable ads that you.
Mr. Beast's thumbnails are something that we analyze a lot. The team who I'm working with, yes, they spend a lot of time looking at his thumbnails specifically as to why they work.
Why do you think they work?
I mean, I don't know. I haven't spoken to them. This is sort of very, very recent that they've been doing this. They're sort of off doing all of this analysis. So I don't know why they work at the moment. Hopefully I will know in a couple of weeks' time, and you'll start seeing Mr. Beast style thumbnails. I don't think I can afford Mr. Beast style thumbnails. I know he gets an outside team to do them.
Pretty impressive.
$250,000 a day, top end, apparently.
Yeah.
$250,000 a day.
So there's 2 of us in the world earning that much then. That's good.
Yeah.
Because you got some competition, Mark. And then if we've got time, and hopefully we have, but if we haven't, in terms of the sort of training content that people do as well. So Sue, just for you, so the training that you run, you just running sort of ad hoc training for your clients as such, when the customers as and when they need it. So it's like small groups of people in person or remote?
In person or remote, depends.
Either, is it?
Yeah, but I find I'm qualified as a lecturer. I used to lecture for 15 years, so I'm okay at doing that. But I like developing. So and also I find I forget, because I go so far down the rabbit hole of where I am and what I'm doing. I forget what it's like to not, so I'm not very good at training new stuff, new users. But I'm better at training people that on their report. So I build for them, and then I explain to them how it works, and I train them how to use it, or to how to use data flows, or to how to build reports based on the models that I've built. So they don't necessarily have to do the more complicated stuff, but they can use what I've built to build on. And that seems to work better. I do some people ask, and I do, but I suppose my training that I give is more on meetups or in conferences. So I did Vancouver, Ken Pulse's meetup group last week, where I gave a session on Tablet Editor, So, or paginated reports, so I tend to deliver sessions on specific topics for meetup groups or at conferences.
So here's a question then: for a meetup presentation, how much prep time?
I can spend a day on an hour's course, but then I will reuse it about a day. So I like to do it again on something that I'm particularly interested in. And then I'll publish it to YouTube, but it is about a day for a meetup group. But I love the idea of the TikTok, because one of the tools that I'm particularly keen on using for Power BI is Tablet Editor, which is absolutely brilliant. But there's little bits you could say, right, this is how you do that, and to do it in a TikTok in a minute or two. And it's just Brian Julius, who's really a top voice in LinkedIn, but very much so in Power BI. He said he watched a session and there were sort of different shortcuts that he picked up that he didn't know, and he'd been using it for 2 years. So you've inspired me to try TikTok, Deb.
Yeah, go. Don't procrastinate, because that's what I did at the beginning.
Yeah, no, I won't. I'll do it.
Weeks thinking about it and not actually doing it.
But it's just little things. I find it's the little things. I'm working in something and I just think, how do I do that? And like the ruler or reduce columns or something, and I think, how do I open all of those columns? And it's like, it's that. So and I keep thinking I should do something where just every, there's a minute or 2 minutes. Quick tip: how to open all columns in Tableau Editor. Quick tip: how to do this. Quick tip.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. TikTok is such a learning platform these days. I think a lot of people who've never used the app think of it as this app just where people go to dance around and lip sync to songs, but I use it for learning about everything. Like if you're a runner, they call it running talk, and your algorithm will be full of running videos, and there's a big Excel side to it now. You can learn about get on running talk.
Not getting any work done for the rest of today.
And it's just I go there to learn about all different kinds of things. It's I would say it's a learning app these days.
Oh dear.
Picking up from Sue, you mentioned something actually about sort of explaining stuff to people who are just beginning and things, and I think there is an art to that. There is with experience. I think maybe I've been running training course for 16 years now, and there's way less content in my course now than there was 5 years ago. It's just cut. You want to explain everything to people really quick. And this and that, and you can do this thing and that thing, and then you suddenly realize, one, you're overwhelming people. So they're not going to remember anything you say. And two, you've got to really just try and put yourself back in the shoes of the learner, because it's tiring learning as well. It's really tiring sitting there learning. So I think those two things have meant that there's less and less content. I don't know what other people's thoughts are on the process, or what makes for a good course. Or
I've got a few thoughts. So Deb and I actually spoke about this recently, like the skill when you've got a mixed group. We a lot of my time, because we've got so much content of Full Stack that actually I feel like I can point people and pull things together for almost anything. But when you've got a mixed group with some very experienced people and some beginners, it is a real skill to manage that. There's lots of little tips or techniques that I've always got kind of backups of things that I can say to the stronger people, like, look, if you get through this, here's some optional stuff you can keep yourself entertained with. Splitting longer sessions up. We're partway through a big boot camp that I'm doing with Dim Early and Craig Hatmaker, but every session's 2 hours, and I just cannot speak for 2 hours for my sanity or everyone else's. So I try and break things up, even if it's like a 5-minute exercise, just to break the session up. I always find things like that really help.
I've found that sometimes you can do an exercise, like you've taught a topic. Now here's an exercise you can do to learn how to to embed some of the stuff. The problem is that it's not the topic you've just taught, it's all the stuff that you've assumed that people already know. So for example, you might teach something about tables, and then you've got this example that uses a sum ifs, and people are like, I don't know about sum ifs, I haven't got a clue how it works. And you're just kind of like, okay, so you must have to simplify your examples down to as the thinnest thing that they can be, but still reinforcing what you just taught, or else otherwise you're assuming a certain level of knowledge which the people don't have. And that's one of the struggles I've had, is you know, tables aren't, you know, you'd think that the kind of people who'd be using tables would be comfortable with a sum ifs, but equally that's not like a prerequisite. You said, oh, you can only come on this course that
he's frozen.
Mark
he's frozen.
Yeah. It's a very, very good point, though. You do make assumptions, don't you, that people have a certain level of knowledge, and I think that's one of the bits I struggle with a bit. So
I think, I mean, what I see is just a huge skills gap for beginner skills, and I see it every day in the comments section. You think, sometimes I'll put a video up and I'll think, oh, this is really basic, like no one's going to watch this. And then, you know, it will be one of the most popular videos. Oh my God, this is so helpful. And you realize that people don't have these fundamental skills. And I particularly notice this amongst younger people. So the generation coming up into the workforce, they say to me all the time, you know, we don't get taught any of this at school or at college. And then we're flung into the workforce and we're just expected how to know how to use Excel, Word, PowerPoint, whatever it might be. And like, we just don't know, you know, and they're like, thank God I have these videos so that it's to help me and, you know, so that I can learn and understand. So I think there is a huge skills gap at the bottom. And that kind of what I like to try and address with a lot of my videos will be more beginner to intermediate, because that's where I see the massive gap.
Yeah. And I think you're right. But when you're at school, you don't understand, you know, this is coming from someone that's taught in schools and colleges. You don't understand the value of Word and Excel. You're taught it.
It should be in the curriculum. It should be in the curriculum.
It really should be. And, but, you know, a lot of people don't understand quite, you know, the ability to use Excel for anything is fundamental to managing money, to managing business. You know, if you think of a builder, they need Excel to work out costings. You know, if you're setting up to buy your own house or to live away, or, you know, you want a little Excel spreadsheet to work out money coming in, money going out, what have I got left. So it's, you know, I completely agree, Deb.
Life skills.
Yeah.
I think it can be quite daunting.
They should do like a life skills course.
At
school. At school. Yeah.
No, don't do it to school because you won't make any money. Do it on TikTok.
At least it would stop my 15-year-old daughter asking me, when am I ever going to use this? About everything she learns in school, right? So it's just like,
when are you going to learn this?
I'll
your
show
driving
you.
lessons when you want to buy a car. How much is a car going to cost? How much is fuel going to cost? What's tax? Yeah.
Sorry, Mark. Sorry, Giles, go first. Then Mark froze, so we'll bring him back.
We'll finish go Giles. I was just going to say, I totally agree, Deb. I think there's a huge skills gap across the community of people that might even casually use Excel or aren't comfortable with it, and it's getting. I think it's getting more daunting for people, because when you look at the Lambda side of things and Python's coming to Excel, look at this regex function, and it's like, that's really scary for people. And it's something that surprised me over the last 5 years with a lot of the people we've engaged with, where it's like, okay, actually the new clever stuff is brilliant. I love it personally, but actually most people just need help and confidence getting the basics of functions, navigating around Excel, a bit about tables or whatever it is. If you could just get the majority there, I think that would be a huge step forward.
100%. I think if you spend too long on LinkedIn scrolling through, particularly, I mean, I don't know what your feeds look like, but you would get the idea that everybody is, you know, advanced Excel and everybody's doing all these whizzy things with VBA. And as you said, you know, all of the new functions and these complex lambdas. And like, you start to think, oh my goodness, like, is this how the world is going? And then you realize that no, it's not. People just want to be able to do like a VLOOKUP or be able to add up some numbers. You know, it's just like the basic things. They just want to get through the day and get their work done in the most efficient way possible so that they don't get fired. And that is basically the bottom line. As much as Excel can do and how great it is, and there is definitely a space for all of that good stuff, a lot of the time people just want to get through the working day. They don't care about Excel as much as we do. Do you know what I mean? They just want it to work so that they can do whatever it is to do.
They don't want to be faffing with it. Yeah, so they don't
want to sit there creating lambdas. It doesn't interest them. They have, unless they can see a direct need for it and it's going to help them, then they're not going to be interested in any of that. And I think sometimes as a professional, you need to kind of remember that, keep that in your mind when you're designing training courses, that it doesn't have to be the most complex thing ever, Basic is king.
Especially when Microsoft takes a year to actually release the thing it talked about 12 months ago.
So the Power BI course you run, which is probably the most popular course now, Power BI intro course, it always ends up being a course about tables in Excel at some point.
Yeah.
Because you show a table as a data source, just as like Mark was saying about, you just show somebody a sum ifs. I just show somebody a table and they're like, oh, what's that thing? Every time. Still now, they've been around for however many years. But sorry, Mark, you froze. What where you froze? Can you remember?
You were talking about sum ifs in a table.
Maybe I kept talking and then I finished. I mean, the people around me in my room were saying how wise it was, insightful. Mark, it's the cleverest thing you've ever said, Mark.
Add that to your spreadsheet with your interactions with all your friends. You have a line now.
But because of the way that we record this, it's possible that StreamYard will actually just keep whatever I was saying in there. So who knows whether I froze or not? I'll see, and you'll know whether it was wise and insightful or just a pile of rubbish.
I'll edit that back in at this point now, Mark, if it does exist, and we can all judge. And then just the last couple of minutes, online versus in-person training. Any thoughts, techniques? Anybody do that? Anybody not do? Do you guys, Giles?
Yeah, I mean,
or Deb?
No, Deb.
Deb.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've done both over the course of my career. There's definitely a change in the last sort of 10 years more towards the online. But at the start of my career, it was all in-person training. As I said, I worked as an internal trainer for law firms mainly. They always have their own internal training team. So yeah, I've always done in-person training, but then definitely over the last 5 years, it became more webinars, particularly with the pandemic. I think that was like a massive game changer in terms of whether you're going to do live or online, because a big problem we had in the industry as IT trainers, and I had a lot of people come to me during the pandemic who only did live training, and their entire source of income was completely wiped out because they couldn't do that during the pandemic. And so you had a lot of people were coming to me, I don't know what to do. All of my in-person events have been cancelled. So, if you weren't doing online training at that stage, or webinars, or putting out courses or videos, then you were kind of really, really stuck. So I think from that point of view, going forward, I think online is the way to go. But there's a need for both of them. Some people prefer live, some people like to watch a video. It really depends. There is a place for both of them, and I think there'll always be a place for both of them. That's my opinion on it anyway.
I guess to add to that, we do a lot of mostly online training now, virtual stuff. I find it even more energy sapping than face to face. I mean, I think live training, I don't know about everyone else, but when you get to the end of the day of live training, your brain is fried. And I find that even more so with virtual rooms, because I think it's very hard to read a room when it's virtual. And sometimes if everybody's got their camera off and you've just got to get in a zone of, I have to keep this upbeat and the energy right. So I think there's a lot more that you have to kind of add to your skill set to deliver good virtual live training. But I prefer
I'm the opposite.
Oh, really?
I'm completely the opposite. Like I got to a point probably back in 2015 where I was so burnt out from live training, and it's because it was just a crazy schedule. I was freelancing for Microsoft at the time, and it would be, you've got to go to Wales on the train. So a 5-hour train, get up at 4 a.m, go to Wales, train all day in person, and then 5-hour train back. And then the next day you've got to get up and you've got to travel up to Newcastle. That's another like 2-3 hours train ride. And it was like this every day. And I did it for 7 months. And at the end of it, I hated live training. By the end of it, I hate this. I can't do this anymore. And that was when I switched to online, and I was like, oh, this is much better. So for me, even now, if I have to do a live training session, I find it exhausting. I find it completely exhausting. So I much prefer online and video. I don't know whether that's just because I'm getting old now. I don't know. Maybe that's why. Just tired in general.
But it's a hard skill, isn't it? Well, however you do it,
it's a different skill set.
It really is. I think for good trainers, you put your heart and soul into it. It's almost a bit of a performance, whilst also trying to maintain this awareness of like, okay, how is everyone doing? Do I need to try and help somebody get along? Their tech, the virtual stuff as well. It's like, oh God, Zoom's not letting me get rid of the waiting room, so I've got to hit to let everybody in every 2 minutes. There's a hell of a lot to think about.
There's a lot going on in both scenarios. You know, if you're live training, you're on show all day. You have to have that energy level that's up. You're watching, you know, is this person paying attention? If they're not, how am I going to deal with that? You know, all of that kind of stuff. Is this person struggling? So there's a lot going on. You're answering questions. You're thinking of your content. So it is, you know, a very chaotic brain when you're live training, but it's very similar with, I would say it's almost virtually the same when you're delivering online, except you have the added thing to think about, which is the tech, you know, like managing people, managing breakout rooms, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So there is an additional element to it. I think they're sort of the same, but yeah, it may require slightly different skill sets.
I just get more energy from a live room.
Yes.
You just, because you just get and you can just see the fear in people's eyes who aren't getting it. As well. You just go, right, we need to go back a little stage. Whereas people online, the number of times I've gone, is everybody fine? Yeah. And one of my little techniques these days is to have quite regular breaks of 7 minutes every 40 minutes or so. Because what happens in that break, people will go, oh, I just missed that bit 10 minutes ago. And I've fallen behind. Can you just catch me up? Happens, even though you say, is everybody up to date? Can we move on? People just don't like to say, especially I find online. They don't, and especially if it's a mixed group of people who don't really know each other. Whereas in person, everybody has a bit more of, you know, especially after the first break and people have had a coffee and introduced each other. People are more willing to have a sort of shout out and say they don't understand something.
And they can help each other in person. They can lean over and help each other.
Yes.
I like online. I feed off the energy.
Online or?
No, in person. In person.
Yeah.
You can feed off the energy and, you know, it's much more fun. But in
Giles is right.
I'm just an introvert. I like to stay in my attic, whatever I'm doing. Don't like to go outside.
The way you described it, though, Deb, if you were doing all of that travel around it, that's horrendous. That's not going to be fun at all.
No, it really wasn't. But that was basically my entire career when I was IT training. It was just that chaotic all the time, you know, with different thing like training. It's not just when you're an internal trainer, and I don't know if anybody has been one, you're not just training for an hour, you're training 8 hours a day. So you're on your feet 8 hours a day. It's back-to-back sessions every single day. And you do get to a point where you've always got a sore throat. You know, people don't think about this. You know, if you're talking, and particularly if you're projecting in a large room, I used to have sore throats all the time, you know, headaches from just the constant kind of like shouting. And it just got, after so many years of doing it, I just thought, right, this doesn't suit me anymore. It's time to change direction. And that's where we kind of move. I thought, what do I like about my job here? And it's like, I like the online. I like creating videos. That's the direction I want to go in. So I do more of that now, occasionally live, but not often.
I was the same when I was lecturing. Yeah. When I was lecturing full time and delivering content after all day, lecturing every day, when I, you know, so I completely get that. I didn't present. I didn't. It's, you know, I took a couple of years of just developing rather than speaking, because like you, I was burnt out from it. It's only now I'm beginning to rediscover the love of live.
Yeah, and particularly when they send you to Tartar Steel in Wales and they say, there's going to be 300 people who have just been made redundant, and you're going there to teach them Outlook. And I thought, oh God, it's like 300 like steel workers just sitting there like with their arms closed, like why are we here? Who is this girl?
Yeah, we wouldn't have to be doing this if we had our job. Yeah,
exactly. No, it's just not.
Your attic sounds a nice place to be.
It is. It's lovely.
Mark, any closing notes about your experience with the training world?
I find that the issue that I have with I prefer in person because the issue I have is that when it's online, there's always somebody who wasn't quite paying attention, who's clicked on the wrong button. They've done something strange. Like, can you share your screen? Like, I can't for confidentiality reasons. Like, how am I meant to help you? Like, if I can't even see what's on your screen, like literally, I don't know whether you've gone to the search bar and typed in Outlook and launched the wrong application. I've got no idea what's going on. And then normally, even when people do share their screen, it's kind of like, yeah. When I said click the drop down button, you didn't actually click the drop down. You clicked like on in Power Query, you've got all those things. You've got those buttons where there's a little drop down bit next to it, and if they just click a millimeter in the wrong place, it gives them something entirely different. So therefore, you can say just delete that step and then read it. And so it's seeing people's screens really helps them to understand where they've gone wrong. And also, I rely on people making those mistakes as learning opportunities, right? Because you don't know what, at some point, someone's going to click the wrong button. At some point, someone's going to do something, and them sharing their screen and you saying about why that causes an issue and what the problems are actually means that people then start to understand why things are important. But if you just went into that level of detail, people would be like, this is the most boring training course in the world. He's told me about one button. And he spent 30 minutes talking about the importance of getting this one button right. So you have to you hope that people make mistakes and then in a virtual environment are willing to then share their screen so you can talk about what happens and everyone learns from it. So people making those mistakes is actually part of or at least I use it as part of the training process, because if everything went smoothly, I'd have at least 90 minutes of just blank time where I'd have nothing to say because no one's made any mistakes. Anyway, but I do prefer in person. It means you can, as you said, when people's eyes glaze over, when you can see that they didn't understand my explanation of an explicit measure, and why they need one, and they're like, no, I do not understand this. And and then you talk about normalization and stuff like that. If you did a Power BI course, and they're like, why is this even required? So all of that feedback is useful. I had a virtual training course a while ago where everyone kept their cameras on. I didn't ask them; they all just kept them on, and it was like this. I was like, this is amazing. By the end of it, I was like, thank you, everyone. I was like gushing. It's like an office speech. I want to thank everyone so much for leaving their cameras on. It means so much to me that I get to speak to real people. But it does make a huge difference. Just otherwise, you're just talking at a screen. Like if my internet drops out, which as we know it can do, I might be talking for if it's a session where no one's really interacting, I might be talking for 10 minutes straight without anyone mentioning anything. So at least live, I can't drop out. That's the key thing.
Win. Are we ever doing this live? I know we're at like almost an hour and a half. This format's brilliant. Did we talk about doing it live at some point? Where's your head?
Yeah, we have the technology now to stream it live to LinkedIn and YouTube and wherever. So we will try and organise a live one at some point and get some comments coming in from the audience and all that sort of stuff.
That would be quite funny.
Yeah.
There'd be no one turn up. if you would like us to do a live one,
I'll be there.
Yeah. If you'd like us to do a live one, just comment so we know that some people would be interested.
Yeah, let us know. Look, I think we've well overrun. So, and I meant to be cooking dinner, so I'm not going to be popular. So thank you to everybody. Thank you very much, Deb, for coming on.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
It's been great.
And I am going to do my first TikTok video today.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you need some help or guidance from a top voice, LinkedIn top voice?
Yes, thank you, Debbie. Deb, I'll be reaching out to you.
Excellent. All
Yep,
right, folks.
go for it.
Thank you very much. We'll catch everybody
Thanks,
in the
everyone.
next episode.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.
Bye.